As most of you know, I think it's Shelnut, Northstone Archaeologist for the Malheur National Forest. So this is just an overview of the cultural resources that are in Big Mosquito Project area. And so we begin with, what is archaeology? Archaeology is the study of past human activity primarily through the recovery and analysis of the material, culture, and environmental data left behind. This includes artifacts, architects, biofacts, and cultural landscapes. A lot of people are under the impression that archaeology is just digging, and that's certainly a big component of it. However, it also deals with surface deposition, what was left behind on the surface. It deals with human-altered landscapes and features, roads, ditches, wells, etc. The built environment, cabins, houses, these CCC buildings over here at the compound in John Day is an example of that. Crane Prairie. Archaeology looks at the landscape. It doesn't look at just a 1 meter by 1 meter hole in the ground. What it is trying to get from that excavation is data concerned with the entire landscape. Archaeology can tell us, a lot of people think that all of our information is in history books, and that's simply not the case. Archaeology can fill in some of the blanks. It can speak for people who did not leave a written record. It can also speak for people who don't make it into the history books, like you and me, how we lived. So it can also correct history, like this very famous study on the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Archaeology had a big hand in showing what really happened at that battle. It wasn't the great heroic last stand that has come down to us through history. It can also show us, archaeology can speak for the lowest of the low, slaves in colonial Virginia. What is cultural resource management? That's a difference. This is the federal version of archaeology. It includes archaeology, looking at historic landscapes, landscape features, managing extant historic structures like the CCC structures we have on this forest, TCPs, which is traditional cultural properties, and then research on all of this stuff and then compliance with federal law. These are just a few of the, like a handful of the historic preservation laws that we are required to look at when we do federal archaeology. We deal primarily with this one right here. That's Section 106, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about within the National Historic Preservation Act, but all the others are also relevant. This is the project area map, and this is a map of traditional use by Cayuse, Umatilla, Walla Walla tribes. As you can see, project area is right in there. Again, historical boundaries of tribal lands, right in the project area. TCPs that I mentioned earlier, traditional cultural properties. There is a very high probability, well, I shouldn't say that, I don't know. There is a probability that there may be some TCPs in the Big Mosquito Project area. There's a process to go through to define a TCP, but it might be concerned with huckleberry sites, traditional gathering places that the Umatilla used to gather huckleberries, and I think the other one is, big one is chokecherries in that area. They too are concerned about this. This is from their own paper, Confederated Umatilla Journal, in August of this year. So that also is there. Traditional cultural properties can apply to Native Americans. They can also apply to non-natives. There are several things that fall under that category for our concerns right here. There may be some gathering TCPs in the project area. We know they were there because the crew found these this summer, really overgrown out there. So they didn't find a boatload of artifacts like this, but they did find those. And of course, the other biggie in the project area is mining. And again, all of these little guys here coming out, they all represent mines. To me, that's just, wow, that's a lot. And this is what has been left from some of the mining activities. Maybe not that so much, but we have an adit there. We have piping. We have somebody's shoe. This is not leather. It's actually round strings, wound strings. I thought it was like a tennis shoe, but it's not at all. We have ditches. Lots of, again, looking at the overall landscape. Where do those ditches go? What mine did they connect to? What artifacts go along with those? Again, more mining stuff. We also look, as I said, we look at linear sites. And one of the linear sites that's in the project area is this trail. This is 1931 trail going up to Indian Rock. I think that's what it's called, Indian Rock, Indian Point. These designate, mark that trail. These were put out when that trail was constructed. And then, of course, we have standing structures in various states of decay and our use. I mean, some of them are still in use. That's a stove part. And this is one of the coolest artifacts, I think, simply because of its age, which you just don't find. This bottle dates to the mid to the late 19th century. And we can tell that because of, by looking at it, at the finish. That's a hand finish that was done by hand with a finishing tool. And then you can't tell here, but I was told that the seams are very fat and kind of irregular. That is typical of either blowing, well, that's typical of blowing into a mold. And that technology, like I said, is mid 19th century to late 19th century, very early 20th century too. And again, we have can technology. That's lead, and that's lead. This is a can technology, again, dating to the late 19th to very early 20th century. We got beer, which is Olympia, and we've got other goodies in that bottle there. And then we have, this is actually a telephone insulator. Telephone wire would have run through there, would have connected, if that's an administrative, that would have been with the Forest Service. They would have been connecting a lookout probably to a ranger station. And then we have dendroglyphs, or arborglyphs. I've heard them called both. I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's significant. It's either K-O or K-U, but anyway, that is a very quick review of what is up there.